Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. We are welcoming an incredible organization to our show today, Conscious Alliance, and we are so blessed to have the executive director himself as our guest, Justin Levy. And you are just going to love anyone who is a music festival fan. And I know if you're listening to this show, you've got passion for making the world a better place, alleviating food insecurities, giving back to our communities. That is what this organization is all about. And it's so amazing to me how they have really partnered with artists and musicians in such a unique way to tackle food insecurity throughout the United States and make sure that, you know, they're just able to alleviate hunger in underserved communities. So it's going to be an incredible show, tons of purpose. Justin, welcome. We are so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Oh, thank you. So am I. Thank you so much for being here. Justin and I had a great pre-show conversation. And Justin, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself to our guest today. Tell a little bit more about your background and let's get into what is Conscious Alliance all about.
Yeah, thank you so much. Conscious Alliance started 20 years ago with the idea of engaging young people in the fight against hunger by hosting a food drive at a concert. So a couple folks from the University of Colorado, as their senior thesis, decided to host a food drive at the Fillmore Auditorium in March of 2002 with the band The String Cheese Incident. We created a limited edition concert poster that folks who brought 10 cans of food got that poster in exchange. And that first food drive brought in over 4,000 pounds of food. The next one brought in 8,000 pounds of food, and we realized we had something going. And that was the birth of our Art That Feeds food drives.
Wow. And that you said was 20 years ago?
20 years ago this March. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is a monumental, I mean, every day is a great day when you're doing the work that you all do at Conscious Alliance, but this is a huge milestone, 20 years of doing this. And I know that it's grown so much, and we'll get into that. So amazing grassroots beginnings, hailing out of the state of Colorado, which is where you're based today, correct?
Yeah, we opened the doors of our national distribution center in Broomfield, Colorado just last year. So
congratulations. Wonderful. All right. So what exactly do you do? Like, what's your elevator pitch to folks about who is Conscious Alliance and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, Conscious Alliance is a movement of artists, musicians, food makers, and music lovers on a mission to end hunger nationwide. As I mentioned, we started 20 years ago with an idea of hosting a food drive at a concert, and it worked. The first food drive that we ever did with the String Cheese Incident, the food benefited Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, which is only 6 hours away from our home here in Colorado, and one of the most economically isolated communities in the country. Pine Ridge is the same size as the state of Connecticut, with 40,000 Oglala Lakota living there, but only one full-service grocery store.
Wow.
So Pine Ridge is really, it's the heart of our founding story. It's the beginnings of Conscious Alliance and really what drives us forward to bring healthy food to communities all across the country.
Justin, thank you for sharing that. You know, when I was reviewing your website, consciousalliance.org, for all of you who are listening, you must check it out. So this exact community is in the spotlight on your website too. I think it's maybe one of your case studies or the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. It's right there on the homepage, I believe. This is how it all began.
Yeah, Pine Ridge Reservation is the heart of our founding story, what drives us forward every day, and really where Conscious Alliance was built, right there on the reservation. And, we went from working with one band, the String Cheese Incident, to working with hundreds of musicians and artists like Dave Matthews, Jack Johnson, Michael Franti, The Dead, and so many others.
I mean, those are the best live musicians that you just said too. Anyone who loves going to listen to like great music where you can sit in the lawn or you can sit in the very front row, like you're having a great time with these musicians. And oh my gosh, I can totally picture them being the type of artists that are alliances with what you all are doing and big contributors. So I love to hear that. Some of my favorite musicians have been part of this as well. So tell us a little bit more about like your footprint today. I mean, so obviously you've grown from one band to hundreds. Pine Ridge Reservation is essentially the founding story, the first community that really could feel the benefit of what you have put together at Conscious Alliance. But what does that community footprint look like today?
It's grown exponentially. Like you said, we started with one band in one community, but by teaming up with musicians and poster artists, we have been able to meet hunger heroes all across the country. So a band plays in Atlanta, Georgia. We're supporting a local food pantry, a local school, a local food bank in that area. Chicago, same thing. So over the years, we have met tons of young hunger heroes, folks working in their community every day to make sure that kiddos and families are fed. And when you have a musician and you're at the show and they're saying, don't forget the food drive, don't forget about Conscious Alliance, it's a wonderful megaphone for the organization. So it really drives us forward in a big way. And in 2008, we met Justin Gold, who had just launched a very small peanut butter company in Boulder, Colorado. He had 3 employees, and they were sitting around a picnic table trying to decide what organization they would support as they grew as a company. And I hope that everybody listening has had an opportunity to have the Justin's peanut butter cups and try their peanut butter. But Justin's chose Conscious Alliance. And at that time, I'd say they didn't have the product to give. They didn't really have the monetary donations to give, but they had time. And so they started supporting the organization, introducing us to other natural food brands. And it grew really organically, but it's grown from one natural food company to over 65 now that support Conscious Alliance regularly.
Yeah. And these are brands. I mean, just looking at the about page on your website, these are going to be brands that you all recognize: Applegate, Justin's, to your point, and then huge brands like Conagra, Hormel, Plum Organics, which is so iconic for anyone with a baby in the household. Happy Family, Aloha, Danone, Wave. I mean, it's incredible. So, okay. So I'm tracking with your stakeholders thus far. You've obviously got your core team at Conscious Alliance, yourself and your colleagues who are, the employees and the team that make it happen internally. Then you've got your artists, the poster artists you mentioned, you've got your musicians, and then you have these food makers. Who else?
Yeah. And the music lovers, right?
Yeah. So, the audience. Yeah.
So, our food drives got really big. We've had a record food drive at Electric Forest Festival that brought in over 34,000 pounds of food, an entire semi-load. And what we realized from going on the road with bands is that we have a lot of logistical experience. And like I said, we've met these hunger heroes along the way. So as we started interacting with the natural food community and working with brands, the other thing that was the big spotlight for us was food waste in this country. There's so much great food that grocery stores won't buy. It's perfectly good, but it's within 90 days of its shelf life, or it's getting coded out, or the brand has gone through a rebrand. And so we started taking all of our touring and logistics experience to go into brands' warehouses and pick up that food before it winds up in the landfill. Because of our network with the bands, we know the communities that need it around the country, and we know who's doing work in the community to get that great product to. So it turned from a hunger relief organization with one and then two communities to spread out nationwide and a really big footprint that also is having a huge positive environmental impact.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And the slogan of Conscious Alliance is art that feeds. So let's talk a little bit more about how it works. So you've got these stakeholders, which we've identified. And I guess actually one stakeholder group, Justin, that we forgot would be the food, like the hunger relief stakeholder, like the food banks, the schools, those community institutions are another stakeholder. So let's walk people through how it works. Like they go to a concert. How do they know if Conscious Alliance is there and benefiting? Like, what does it look and feel like?
Yeah. So Conscious Alliance, like I said, works with musicians all over the country. We're at a lot of events at Red Rocks Amphitheater and so many festivals like Electric Forest Festival, High Sierra. So the first thing to do is check on our website of where we're going to be this summer. Check on the band and festival page. And there's a really big push from these bands and festivals to engage their fans in giving back to the local community where the music plays. And that's where we come in. So a concert goer shows up at the show, donates 20 non-perishable food items or a suggested monetary donation, and goes home with a limited edition screen print poster that has the band and the date and the venue where they are today. And that poster is really a reminder and a memory of the good time that the fans had at the music and the opportunity that they had to give back to those who might need it.
It's a treasure. And for those of you that don't understand, like the band poster, the concert poster craze, it is real. I mean, I don't really even know what to compare it to. I mean, my kids have done the baseball trading cards and stuff like that. And I even feel like the concert posters are kind of in a league of their own, so to say, when it comes to, it's why we get to concerts so early when we go to the Dave Matthews concerts in the summers, because we want to get our poster that we then frame and hang up in the basement. It's like the thing that music fans do everywhere. So I think it's a brilliant weave in to what you're doing. And, it creates that evergreen lasting memento of truly such a force for good.
We've had so many music fans say, I donated at one food drive, then I donated at another. I got 3 posters and then I looked up what you all really did. And that's where folks take even the deeper dive into supporting Conscious Alliance when they see not only the impact from that show or those moments, but the lasting impact we're having in communities that we continue to go back to. Yeah,
it's amazing. So, okay. So this is all so exciting. How do you focus your service efforts? Like, how and where do you know who to serve next? I mean, especially as we evaluate society today. I mean, there's been mass disruption. We continue to have, a shameful amount of food waste in this country, yet there's a rising amount of households that are food insecure. So how are you part of this solution?
Great questions. And yes, there is a lot to do. We continue to focus on Pine Ridge Reservation, where we have opened up a food pantry where we started with one school and now work with all 15 schools on the reservation to make sure that their kiddos have great food. So again, Pine Ridge being the heart of our founding story and what drives us. With us being based in Colorado, we started developing relationships with schools, knowing that, schools are such a great place where kids go every day, where, the teachers care about the kiddos. And we found that, we're not the first to do it, but through a backpack program approach, we can reach a lot of families, right? And then we have a lot of communities where the music has taken us over and over again, whether it be Atlanta, Georgia, and Asheville, North Carolina. And since we've started working with so many brands, we're also tracking where does a lot of food come from out of brands' warehouses. So how do we minimize our carbon footprint, and how do we, again, support the environment and support these brands and in doing a great thing with their food. So we have found that a lot of food comes out of the Midwest, which has helped us evaluate where we can support and work closely with those brands to get food. So communities like Chicago.
Fantastic. So what happened to Conscious Alliance when, the concert stage went dark, during the pandemic? We weren't gathering and going to music festivals. The artists weren't touring on stages. How did you guys get through that?
The pandemic was tough for the organization and for so many, and continues to be. One of the first days of the lockdown in March of 2020, we had a board member call me who owned a restaurant here in Boulder and said, if we prepare meals, do you have an outlet to give them away? And so I called a kindergarten teacher on our advisory board and said, do you have kiddos who might need restaurant meals? And we teamed up with 3 teachers who were going to their kiddos' doorsteps and dropping off dinner from a great restaurant here in town. And it was a way for the teachers to check in on the kiddos and, just in their heart, make sure that the kids and the families were okay too, right? And there was that moment. And that caught the attention of World Central Kitchen, which is an amazing organization that we have a great relationship with now. But we went from about 160 restaurant meals a week to about 1,900 meals.
Wow.
And what we realized was that so many of the music professionals, not just the musicians, but the stagehands, the light crews, the security guards, the vendors, were having such a hard time. And Conscious Alliance was an organization that all those folks helped build over about 18 years at that time. And we were a safe place for them to come and get support. So we were feeding music industry professionals for months and months and months on a weekly basis by doing drive-throughs.
And so was that all done in partnership with World Central Kitchen, or was World Central Kitchen a catalyst for you to do more?
They were a catalyst and a really strong partner throughout. But we did a lot of meal distributions with them and other stagehands and production teams as well. So it was a huge catalyst and a great partner to have.
Yeah. And World Central Kitchen, for those of you that, maybe you're not able to connect the dots, this is the non-for-profit that Chef Jose Andres leads. And, where there's disaster, they set up kitchens and they mobilize food into areas that need it the most for all sorts of different tragedies in the news recently because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and war. So during the pandemic, how did things go? Like, did your operation decline in impact? Did things stay steady? How did you get through this?
I'm so grateful for our team and our supporters that stuck with us, brands that elevated their support during the pandemic when so many were in need. Conscious Alliance actually went from 1.1 million meals in 2019 to 2.6 million meals distributed in 2020. And it really is a testament to the Alliance and everybody involved that we were able to truly show up for communities across the country.
Wow. And you started with, did you say 8,000 meals in the beginning? Is that how Conscious Alliance began?
Yeah, the first food drive that we ever did with the string cheese incident brought in 4,000 pounds of food, and the next one, 8,000 pounds. And we realized we had something going.
Yeah. And then here you are during one of the most difficult times of our nation's history, over 2 million meals. That's amazing.
It's really important work. And again, it's a testament to the community that we have built and who support us ongoing.
So this has all been extremely informative to me. I would love for you to explain a couple things before we, kind of shift to wrapping up this show. The first thing is, if you could just tell someone one thing, like what is the key takeaway of your organization? What would that be?
The key takeaway for Conscious Alliance is that anyone can be a part of it. Anyone can give at any level and make an impact in their community. And no action is too small.
I love that. And you're so right. There's opportunities to get involved by attending events. You can, on their website, they sell some of these amazing posters and memorabilia. There's obviously donations are accepted, and there's just a ton of ways to get involved. Great volunteer opportunities too. So Justin, what's happening this summer? I mean, what's ahead for Conscious Alliance?
We had the Colorado fires in January, and our national distribution center that I mentioned we opened last year was only 2 miles away from the evacuation site. And so we've been working really closely to home to support these families and kiddos who lost everything while keeping our national reach going. And we are also really excited to hit the road during concert season and put our Art That Feeds food drives in front of fans in real life again. And again, see some of those hunger heroes and work with those hunger heroes face to face here over the next few months.
Awesome. And I have one, I guess, rookie question for you. So when with the posters that you sell, do fans find that in the general, like just the merch shops that the band set up, or does Conscious Alliance have their own presence and booths at these concerts?
Great question. Conscious Alliance sets up activations inside and outside of each show that we participate in. So you can look for the Conscious Alliance Art That Feeds booth at concerts near you.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, Justin, this has been such an incredible, just makes me want to get out and enjoy that concert season. I love that you call it the concert season. It's so true. There's something about a great concert on a summer night, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it just moves the soul. But this is an incredible story. I hope everyone checks out consciousalliance.org. Keep an eye out for this organization, engage with them online, figure out the ways you can get involved. Quite humble, but my goodness, such heartwarming beginnings. And look at this national movement it's grown into. It's profound. In 20 years, I know we said, oh, such a milestone, but really it's the blink of an eye at the same time. Have you been part of the organization all 20 years, Justin?
I have been with the organization for 18 out of the 20 years.
Wow.
I started as a volunteer and have stuck with it. And, it's a testament to our staff, our board, the folks working day in and day out to make this movement a success, not for us, but for the kiddos and families we serve across the country.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. We have this lovely tradition on our podcast where you get the final remarks, the closing goodbyes, anything that you'd like to, say to our audience at this time is, the mic is yours. But one more time, I just want to thank you for what you do. Thank everyone at Conscious Alliance. And of course, thank Kelly, who introduced the two of us. This has been a lovely episode. I learned a lot, and I don't know about you all who are with us today listening, but I'm ready for a good summer music festival. I'll tell you that. After listening to this show, I'm going to look to see when the next great jam band's come into town. But Justin, thank you again, and the mic is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. And like I said earlier, no action is too small, whether it's through Conscious Alliance or an organization in your local community. please take a few moments to give back and support one another. We need it now more than ever. If you're a food brand and you have excess product, please look us up. If you're a touring musician, please let us know. We'd love to work with you. And again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.